Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for tuning in again to this YouTube channel. One of the things that I'm often asked when I give lectures about the Quran, particularly to Muslim audiences, and sometimes to audiences of other people, I'm asked what is my favorite verse of the Quran, or what are some of the verses of the Quran that I find to be most nourishing for my own spiritual life. Now this answer changes. As a scholar, there are certain verses that I find to be very interesting to dig into the implications of them, to look at how they've been studied over time. But when it comes to reading the Quran for my own spiritual benefit and developing, inshallah, my own relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the verses that I often come back to are the verses of Surah Al-Qiyamah, which say, بَلَى الْإِنسَانُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ بَصِيرًا وَلَوْ أَلْقَى مَعَاذِيرًا. That is, but the human being has insight into himself, or really knows himself deeply, no matter what excuses he gives. Now this is really an important message of the entire Quran, because part of the whole point of the Quranic message is for the refinement of the human character. The Quran says that it's there to purify human beings. The Quran says that one of the purposes of sending the Prophet, one of the functions of the Prophet, is to purify his ummah. And one of the ways in which we do that is by self-reckoning, self-understanding. As a famous tradition in Islam says, and it's oftentimes attributed to the Prophet, but it wasn't actually said by him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is مَنْ عَرَفَ نَفْسَهُ فَقَدْ عَرَفَ رَبَّهُ. Whosoever knows himself knows his Lord. Now, what this really indicates is that as you know yourself more in depth, you understand your position in relation to God. It's also the famous verse of the Quran, سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتُنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ أَنَّهُ الْحَقِّ. We shall show them our signs on the horizons and within themselves, فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُ أَنَّهُ الْحَقِّ, until it becomes clear to them that it is the truth. And the it here could refer to a number of things, but it could also be understood to mean that He is the truth, that God is the truth, or that God is the real. That is, that as we contemplate things, we come to a deeper understanding of the nature of reality. As we contemplate the signs within ourselves and are honest with ourselves, we come to a deeper understanding of reality and of our position within the created order, and more importantly, of our position in relation to God. Now, one of the beautiful things in this surah is that it also begins with the verses لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة. That is, I swear by the day of judgment, and I swear by the blaming soul. Now, what's the relationship between these two? Well, on the day of judgment, or the day of resurrection, Yawm al-Qiyamah, on that day, we see everything that we've done, everything that you tried to hide from in this life, from a Quranic position, all of it comes back. مَا قَدَّمَتْ وَمَا أَخَّرَتْ. That which you have sent before and that which you have left behind. Left behind can refer both to the good deeds that you did not do and to the good deeds that you did do that will now benefit you, or the things that you did that now people are following through on them that continue to benefit for you. And مَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ, that which their hands have sent forth, can refer to the good things that one has done that now bear fruit in the hereafter, or the bad things for which one must now be held accountable in one way or another, inshallah, with God's forgiveness for all of us. Now, here's what happens on the Yawm al-Qiyamah. So, and then that relates to إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ بَصِيرًا, right? Because it's on that day that we'll see all these things. But Then it says, النفس اللوامة. النفس اللوامة, the blaming soul, is the way in which we see those things in this life now. It's the part of the human being that holds us accountable for not giving others their right, for not giving God God's right, for falling short in the things that we have done. It's that part of us that says, you could have done better in this. You could have done better by that human being. You should have given that person more in this particular instance. So the idea that the human being ala nafsihi basira has insight into oneself, or really one's soul, is directly related to that blaming soul, because that is the means by which we do it. And as we take ourselves to account and listen to that blaming soul, which can be one of the most difficult things for us to do in life, we will give fewer and fewer and fewer excuses for ourselves, and we will come to know ourselves better. Now, this verse is followed by a discussion of the Quran itself, which says, لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. That is, do not hasten your Quran, or do not rush your tongue with it to hasten it. Meaning, let the Quran come. Now, some take this as an injunction to just the Prophet himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But that can really be an injunction to every reader of the Quran as well, which is, don't hasten to come to an understanding of the Quran. Let that understanding develop. Let it marinate through tadabbur, through contemplation of the Quran. As another verse then says, كَلَّا بَلْ تُحِبُّونَ الْعَاجِلَةَ وَتَذَرُونَ الْآخِرَةَ. That is, nay, but you love to be in a hurry, essentially, or you love to rush, and you leave aside, or you forego, as thinking about and really neglect, in a sense, the hereafter. So on the one hand, we're in a rush to get things done, we're in a rush to come to conclusions, we're in a rush to get our own due in this world, and as a result, we fail to give others their due. As a result, we sometimes fail to do what is right. As a result, we fail to take account of ourselves, and then in failing to take account of ourselves, we neglect the hereafter. We neglect the process of preparing for the hereafter. And if one reads the Quran with contemplation, this is one of the deepest and most important messages of the Quran. It's how we go through this process from moving from the soul that commands to evil, and that's the rushing soul, that's the one that's in a hurry to do this, that, and the other thing for itself. Then to the blaming soul, that soul that is the one that has basira, that listens to the basira and does not give excuses for its own behavior. Then to an-nafs al-mutma'inna, that is the soul at peace, the soul by which we can find true contentment with God, knowing that we have done all that we could in this life in order to prepare ourselves to live a life that is pleasing to God and that is pleasing to others, that we may be pleased with God and that God may be pleased with us. Now, thank you again, and please do let me know in the comments if there are other verses that you would be interested in hearing about in this particular series. This isn't what I'm usually going to be doing, but I thought that to answer some people's questions, this might be a nice thing to add to this video series. Thank you again. Take care.